Dr. Cathera moved her 6 tentacles carefully across the control panel of the research ship, Harmony's Edge. The purple-skinned alien scientist had been studying ancient ruins for 3 decades, but she had never seen anything like the structures on this dead world below them. The planet had no name in any galactic database, just a number that meant nothing to most beings in the universe. The ship hummed quietly as it orbited the gray world. Cathera's research team consisted of 12 different species, all peaceful, scholars who spent their lives learning about the past. There was Vrix, a tall blue creature with crystal eyes, who specialized in reading old languages. Next to him sat Tana, a furry 4-armed being who could analyze any metal or stone just by touching it. The rest of the team worked at various stations, each focused on their own area of expertise. "The structures are definitely artificial," Tana reported, her soft voice carrying across the bridge. "The metal composition is unlike anything in our current databases. It's at least 50,000 years old, maybe more." Cathera felt excitement building in her chest. Ancient ruins this old were rare, and finding them intact was even rarer. Most civilizations from that era had destroyed themselves in wars, or simply faded away as time passed. The Galactic Cooperation Council had been formed specifically to prevent such destruction, bringing together hundreds of species in peaceful cooperation. "Prepare the landing shuttles," Cathera ordered. "We'll take teams down to examine the largest structure first. Remember, we're here to learn, not to disturb anything unnecessarily." The away teams spent the next several hours exploring the ruins. The structures were massive, built from some kind of black metal that seemed to absorb light. Strange symbols covered the walls, and Vrix was already working on translating them. The architecture was unlike anything they had seen before, with sharp angles and defensive positions that suggested the builders had been warriors. "These people were fighters," Vrix said, running his crystal fingers over a wall carving. "The symbols speak of battles, conquests, and something called the Great Trial. I think this might have been a military facility." Cathera nodded, making notes on her portable device. The Galactic Cooperation Council had encountered warrior species before, but most had either evolved past their violent nature or had destroyed themselves. It was always sad to find remnants of civilizations that had chosen war over peace. The problems began when they tried to leave. Chief Engineer Noth, a round green alien with multiple eyes, discovered the issue first. "The quantum drive is completely dead," he announced over the communication system. "Something down on the planet is interfering with our power systems. We're stranded until I can figure out what's causing it." Cathera felt a chill run through her tentacles. Being stranded in an unmapped system was dangerous, especially with limited food and water supplies. "How long do you need to fix it?" "I don't know yet. The interference is unlike anything I've seen. It's like something is actively draining our power systems." Over the next 2 days, the situation grew worse. The ship's life support systems began failing, and strange energy readings came from the planet below. Worse, several team members who had gone back to study the ruins reported being watched by unseen presences. 2 scientists had gone missing entirely, and search teams could find no trace of them. "We need to send a distress signal," Cathera finally decided. "The nearest council world is 6 months away, but maybe someone closer will respond." The emergency beacon went out across all known communication channels. It carried a simple message in the universal trade language. "Peaceful research vessel stranded. Need immediate assistance. No weapons aboard. Scientific mission only." The signal traveled through space, bouncing off communication relays and spreading across the galaxy. Most species monitored emergency frequencies, and the Council had agreements with many independent worlds to assist in rescue operations. What Cathera didn't know was that her signal was about to reach a world that had never been contacted by the Galactic Cooperation Council, a blue and green planet in a quiet star system, where the dominant species had only recently developed faster-than-light travel. On Earth, The signal was detected by the newly built Deep Space Monitoring Station in orbit around Mars. The automated systems immediately flagged it as first contact material and sent it directly to the United Earth Defense Command headquarters in Geneva. General Patricia Hayes read the translated message 3 times before calling an emergency meeting. In the conference room, military officers and civilian leaders gathered around a holographic display showing the signal's origin point. "This is it," General Hayes said quietly. "First confirmed contact with alien intelligence. The question is, what do we do about it?" Dr. Richard Stone, Earth's leading xenobiologist, leaned forward. "The message clearly indicates they're peaceful scientists. This could be our chance to make a good first impression with galactic civilization. Or it could be a trap," countered Admiral Karen Ross of the Space Navy. "We know nothing about these beings or their intentions. For all we know, this could be bait to lure us into an ambush." General Hayes studied the star charts. "The signal is coming from a system about 3 weeks away at maximum speed. If we're going to respond, we need to decide quickly. We should send our best diplomats," suggested Dr. Stone. "Scientists, linguists, cultural experts, people who can establish peaceful contact and show that humanity is ready to join the galactic community." Admiral Ross shook her head. "We should send our best soldiers. If this is legitimate, they can handle a rescue mission. If it's a trap, they can handle that too." The debate continued for hours, but in the end, military pragmatism won. Earth would send a rescue mission, but it would be led by the most capable warriors humanity had to offer. Captain Jake Morrison received his orders while training with his squad in the Arctic Warfare Facility. The 40-year-old soldier had seen combat on Mars, Europa, and the asteroid belt. His team consisted of elite special operations soldiers, each one trained for the most dangerous missions in human space. "Pack for extended deployment," Morrison told his squad. "We're going to make first contact with alien life." The USS Valkyrie launched from Earth orbit 12 hours later, its stealth systems engaged and its weapons ready. Captain Morrison stood on the bridge, watching the stars shift as the ship entered faster than light. Travel. He didn't know that his rescue mission was about to change the balance of power in the galaxy. The USS Valkyrie dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the unnamed system. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge, his gray eyes studying the tactical display. 23 days of travel had brought them to this moment, and he was not taking any chances. "Sensors are picking up the alien vessel," reported Lieutenant Sam Brooks from the navigation station. "It's orbiting the 3rd planet, exactly where the distress signal originated." Morrison nodded, his weathered face showing no emotion. "Full passive scans. I want to know everything about that ship before we make contact. Are there any other vessels in the system?" "Negative, sir. Just the one ship and some strange energy readings from the planet below." Sergeant Lisa Kane checked her equipment one final time. The explosive ordnance specialist had packed enough firepower to level a small city, though she hoped it wouldn't be necessary. Her blonde hair was pulled back in a tight bun, and her blue eyes showed the alertness of someone who had survived too many dangerous missions. "The ship appears to be damaged," Brooks continued. "I'm reading multiple hull breaches, and their power systems are operating at minimum levels." Corporal Ryan Torres adjusted his rifle scope and studied the planet through the viewports. The sniper's dark eyes missed nothing, and his Hispanic features were set in concentration. "Something's not right about this place, Captain. The energy readings are too organized to be natural." Private First Class Amy Collins worked at the communications station, her fingers dancing across the translation software. The combat medic was also the team's linguist, and she had spent the entire journey studying the alien language patterns from the distress signal. "I think I can establish communication," Collins said, her red hair catching the bridge lights. "The translation matrix is giving me about 60% accuracy, but it should be enough for basic conversation." Morrison made his decision. Take us in slowly. Weapons ready, but not targeted. Amy, open a channel to the alien vessel. The view screen flickered to life, showing the interior of the alien ship. The humans got their first look at extraterrestrial intelligence, and it was nothing like what they had expected. Dr. Cathara appeared on screen, her 6 tentacles moving gracefully as she operated her controls. Unknown vessel. This is Dr. Cathara, of the research ship Harmony's Edge, the alien scientist said, her voice translated by the ship's computer. We are grateful for your response to our distress signal. Are you from the Galactic Cooperation Council? Collins looked at Morrison, who shook his head slightly. Tell them we're from Earth. We received their signal and came to help. We are from the planet Earth. Collins responded carefully. We received your distress signal and have come to assist. What is your current situation? The alien's tentacles moved in what might have been surprise. Earth. I am not familiar with this world. Are you members of the Galactic Cooperation Council? We are not familiar with this council, Collins replied. We are here to help rescue you and your crew. Dr. Cathara studied the humans on her screen. Something about them made her feel uneasy, though she couldn't identify what it was. Their eyes seemed too focused, too alert, like the predators she had studied in her youth. But they had come to help, and her people were running out of time. We have been stranded for 6 days, Cathara explained. Our ship was damaged by some kind of energy interference from the planet below. We have lost contact with 2 of our research teams, and our life support systems are failing. Morrison stepped forward, his military bearing obvious even through the translation. How many people are on your ship? 12 crew members, plus the 2 missing teams, Cathara replied. We are peaceful scientists, studying ancient ruins. We have no weapons or military equipment. The captain turned to his team. Lisa assessed their ship's damage. Ryan, scan the planet for threats. Amy, keep the communication channel open. Kane's fingers flew across her scanner. Their quantum drive is completely fried, sir. Whatever hit them was specifically designed to disable their propulsion systems. This wasn't an accident. Torres's scanner showed something that made his blood run cold. Captain, I'm reading multiple automated defense systems on the planet's surface. They're old, but they're definitely active. And they're targeting anything that moves. Morrison's jaw tightened. Dr. Cathara, we believe your people may have triggered some kind of automated defense system. We're detecting weapons platforms on the planet's surface. The alien scientist's tentacles curled in distress. That's impossible. The civilization that built these ruins has been extinct for thousands of years. Ancient doesn't mean inactive, Morrison replied grimly. We're going to come aboard your ship and assess the situation. Stand by. The Valkyrie docked with the alien vessel using magnetic clamps. Morrison led his team through the airlock, their weapons ready but lowered. The artificial gravity was lighter than Earth normal, and the air had a strange metallic taste. Dr. Cathara met them in the docking bay, accompanied by 3 other aliens. The humans were struck by how different each species looked, but they were all clearly built for peace rather than war. Their movements were slow and careful, their eyes wide with curiosity rather than alertness. Welcome to Harmony's Edge, Cathara said, her tentacles moving in what Collins translated as a greeting gesture. I am Dr. Cathara, the mission leader. These are my colleagues Dr. Vrix, Dr. Tana, and Engineer Noth. Morrison nodded curtly. Captain Jake Morrison, Earth Defense Command. These are my team members, Sergeant Kane, Corporal Torres, and Private Collins. The aliens studied the humans with growing fascination. They had never seen a species that moved with such controlled efficiency. Every gesture seemed purposeful, every glance calculated. It was like watching a group of predators pretending to be herbivores. Your species is unknown to us, Vrix said, his crystal eyes reflecting the corridor lights. From what star system do you come? Sol system, 3rd planet, Collins replied. We developed faster-than-light travel recently and detected your distress signal. How recently? Tana asked, her forearms moving nervously. About 50 years ago, Morrison said. We've been exploring nearby systems, but this is our first contact with other intelligent species. The aliens exchanged glances. A species that had developed interstellar travel in only 50 years was unusual. Most civilizations took centuries to make that leap, and they usually made contact with the Galactic Cooperation Council long before achieving such technology. We need to see the damage to your ship, Kane said. All business. And we need to know more about what happened to your missing teams. Engineer Noth led them to the engine room, where twisted metal and burned circuits showed the extent of the damage. Kane examined the wreckage with professional interest. This was done by an electromagnetic pulse weapon, she concluded. Very sophisticated, designed to disable rather than destroy. Someone wanted you alive. Torres was studying his scanner readings. The defense systems on the planet are definitely targeting this ship. They're charging up for another strike. Morrison made a quick decision. We're going down to the planet. Amy, you stay here with the aliens and coordinate communication. Lisa, Ryan, you're with me. Captain, that's extremely dangerous, Kethera protested. The ruins are filled with traps and automated defenses. 3 of our best researchers are already missing. Morrison's smile was cold and predatory. Doctor, your people are scientists. We're soldiers. There's a difference. The humans prepared for their descent to the planet below, their weapons and armor checked and rechecked. The aliens watched in fascination as the 3 warriors transformed from helpful rescuers into efficient, killing machines. Dr. Cathara was beginning to understand that humanity might not be the peaceful species she had hoped to meet, but as the defense systems charged for another attack on her ship, she was grateful that Earth had sent its warriors instead of its diplomats. The shuttle descended through the gray atmosphere of the dead world, its hull shaking as it passed through layers of electromagnetic interference. Captain Morrison sat in the pilot's seat, his hands steady on the controls despite the rough ride. Behind him, Sergeant Kane and Corporal Torres checked their equipment one final time. The interference is getting stronger, Morrison reported through the communication link to both ships. Amy, you still reading us? Barely, sir, Collins responded. From aboard the alien vessel. The signal is breaking up. I'll lose contact with you once you enter the ruins. Torres studied his scanner display. The energy signatures are concentrated around the largest structure. Whatever's controlling the defense systems, it's in there. Kane patted the demolition charges on her belt. If it's a machine, I can break it. If it's a building, I can level it. Problem solved. The shuttle touched down on a flat area outside the ruins. The 3 humans stepped out onto the alien world, their armor systems automatically adjusting to the thin atmosphere and low gravity. The ancient structures loomed before them, black metal reaching toward the dark sky like the fingers of some buried giant. Movement, 2 o'clock, Torres said quietly, his rifle already aimed at the shadows between the buildings. A metallic creature emerged from the ruins, walking on 6 legs and carrying what looked like an energy weapon. It was clearly artificial, its movements too precise to be organic. The machine paused when it saw the humans, as if analyzing them. Scanning targets, a mechanical voice said in perfect English, "Species unknown. Initiating combat assessment." Morrison drew his sidearm. "It's translating our language. This thing is more advanced than it looks." The robot suddenly moved with incredible speed, its weapon charging with blue energy. Torres's rifle cracked once, and the machine's head exploded in a shower of sparks and metal fragments. The body crashed to the ground, twitching briefly before going still. "Nice shot," Kane said, examining the wreckage. "But there are probably more of them." They moved into the ruins, their weapons ready and their senses alert. The architecture was clearly designed for defense, with narrow corridors and hidden alcoves perfect for ambushes. Strange symbols covered the walls, and the air hummed with barely contained energy. The missing alien researchers went this way, Torres said, pointing to drag marks in the dust. Looks like they were taken alive. The team followed the trail, deeper into the complex. More robots appeared, but they were no match for human military training. Kane's explosives cleared blocked passages. Torres's marksmanship eliminated sentries, and Morrison's tactical experience guided them through the maze of corridors. "This is too easy," Morrison said, as they reached a large chamber. "These defenses were designed to stop someone, but not us." The chamber was filled with holographic displays showing star maps, battle formations, and weapon schematics. In the center stood a massive machine that pulsed with the same energy signature they had detected from orbit. "Found the source," Kane said, studying the device. "This thing is what's been draining the alien ship's power." Torres checked his scanner. "I'm reading life signs from the level below. The missing researchers are down there, but they're weak." A new voice echoed through the chamber, deep and mechanical, but somehow more alive than the robots they had fought. "Impressive. No species has made it this far in over 10,000 years." The holographic displays shifted, showing the image of a tall, armored figure. The being was humanoid, but clearly alien, with 4 arms and eyes that glowed with inner fire. Despite being obviously dead for millennia, its presence filled the chamber with menace. "I am War Commander Vecmer of the Hegemony," the figure said. "You have entered the final trial, the last test of the warrior race that once ruled this galaxy." Morrison kept his weapon ready. "What happened to the scientists who came here?" "They failed the trial," Vecmer replied. "They showed no warrior spirit, no understanding of conflict. They are alive but imprisoned, as are all who prove unworthy." Kane studied the machine in the center of the chamber. "This whole place is a test. The defense systems, the robots, everything is designed to measure combat ability. The galaxy has grown soft," the hologram continued. "The hegemony fell because we had no worthy successors. Species after species has come here, seeking knowledge, but all have proven to be weaklings, interested only in peace." Torres scanned the walls around them. "Captain, I'm reading more defense systems coming online. This thing is preparing for the final phase of its test." "You interest me. Humans," Vecmer said, his glowing eyes focusing on Morrison. "You move like warriors, think like warriors, fight like warriors. Perhaps you are what the galaxy has been waiting for." The chamber began to transform around them. The floor split open, revealing an arena surrounded by weapon racks and combat platforms. Mechanical warriors emerged from hidden alcoves, their weapons charged and ready. "The final trial begins," Vecmer announced. "Prove your worth as inheritors of the hegemony's legacy, or join the failures below." Morrison looked at his team. "Any ideas?" "About 20, Kane said, pulling out her heaviest explosives, most of them involving large explosions. "I count 37 hostiles," Torres reported, his rifle scope tracking multiple targets. "They're well armed but predictable." The battle that followed was unlike anything the ancient ruins had seen. The humans fought with a combination of technology and tactics that the hegemony's machines couldn't counter. Kane's explosives cleared entire groups of enemies. Torres's precision shooting eliminated threats before they could react, and Morrison's leadership coordinated their efforts with military efficiency. The mechanical warriors were dangerous, but they were programmed to fight the slow, careful battles of civilized species. They couldn't adapt to the rapid, violent combat style that humans had perfected through millennia of warfare. "Fascinating," Vecmer said as the last robot fell. "Your species combines individual skill with group coordination. Most warriors fight alone, but you function as a unit." Morrison reloaded his weapon. "We learned a long time ago that teamwork beats individual talent." "The trial is complete," the hologram announced. You have proven yourselves worthy inheritors of the hegemony's military knowledge. The location of our weapon caches, our tactical databases, our most advanced technologies are now yours. The central machine began to change, its hostile energy signature transforming into something that felt almost welcoming. Information flowed across the holographic displays, showing the locations of hidden bases throughout the galaxy. The galaxy faces a new threat, Vecmer continued. The approach from the void between galaxies. The peaceful species of this era cannot stop them, but perhaps you can. Kane studied the weapon specifications appearing on the displays. This tech is centuries ahead of anything we've seen. With this, we could protect the entire galaxy. But, will you? Vecmer asked. The hegemony used its power to conquer. Will humanity choose a different path? Morrison holstered his weapon. We came here to rescue scientists, not to conquer anyone. I think that answers your question. The hologram of Vecmer smiled, an expression that was both terrifying and oddly approving. Then perhaps the galaxy will survive, after all. The imprisonment field around the missing researchers deactivated, and the aliens were lifted to the main chamber on an anti-gravity platform. They were weak but alive, their eyes wide with amazement at what they had witnessed. The final trial is complete, Vecmer said as his image began to fade. The galaxy's guardians have finally arrived. The three humans stood in the silent chamber, surrounded by the military legacy of a dead civilization. They had come to rescue stranded scientists, but they had found something much more significant: humanity's destined role in the galaxy. Above them, the alien ship's power systems came back online as the interference field shut down. The trial was over, but the real test was just beginning. The shuttle ride back to the Harmony's edge was quiet, except for the soft breathing of the rescued alien scientists. Dr. Kethra watched the three humans with new understanding, her tentacles moving nervously as she processed what she had witnessed through the security feeds. The humans had moved through the ancient death trap like it was a simple training exercise. They had destroyed machines that had kept her people prisoner for days, solved puzzles that had baffled her best researchers, and completed a trial that had defeated every species for 10,000 years. Your people are not what I expected, she said quietly to Captain Morrison as the shuttle docked with her ship. Morrison looked at her with those predatory eyes that had unsettled her from the first moment of contact. What did you expect? Peaceful explorers, like us, Cathara replied. Scientists, diplomats, artists. The species that join the Galactic Cooperation Council are usually interested in knowledge and harmony. We're interested in those things, too, Morrison said, but we're also interested in survival, and sometimes survival requires fighting. Back aboard the alien vessel, Private Collins worked to establish better communication protocols while the rescued scientists received medical attention. The missing researchers were weak but unharmed, and their stories filled in the gaps about what had happened in the ruins. The machines tested us, explained Dr. Yith, a tall insectoid alien with compound eyes. They gave us puzzles to solve, but every solution required violence or aggression. We couldn't understand what they wanted. Torres cleaned his rifle as he listened. They wanted you to fight. The whole complex was designed to test combat ability. But why? Asked Dr. Nex, a crystalline being whose body reflected light in rainbow patterns. What purpose could such a test serve? Morrison made a decision that would change everything. Instead of keeping the hegemony's revelations secret, he chose to share them with the aliens. The machines belonged to a species called the hegemony. They were testing for warriors because they knew something was coming. Collins activated the translation software and began explaining what they had learned. The holographic displays showed the hegemony's star maps, their weapon caches, and most importantly, their intelligence about the approaching Devourer fleet. Dr. Cathara's tentacles went rigid with shock. The Devourers are real. We thought they were just legends, stories told to frighten children. according to the hegemony's records. They've been moving through the galaxy's outer rim for decades, Morrison explained. They consume entire worlds, leaving nothing behind. The peaceful species of your council don't have the military capability to stop them. The alien scientists exchanged glances of growing horror. Their entire civilization was built on the principle that violence was unnecessary, that all conflicts could be resolved through discussion and compromise. The idea of an enemy that couldn't be reasoned with was terrifying. But surely the Council can organize a defense, Dr. Vrix said, his crystal eyes flickering with uncertainty. We have thousands of worlds, billions of beings. Surely we can find a way to stop them without violence. Kane looked up from her equipment maintenance. Doctor, you couldn't even handle a few old robots. How are you going to fight a species that destroys entire star systems? The truth of those words hit the aliens like a physical blow. They had spent centuries building a civilization based on peace and cooperation. But they had never considered what would happen if that peace was threatened by something that couldn't be negotiated with. This changes everything, Cathara said quietly. If the Devourers are real, if they're coming, then the entire galaxy is in danger. Morrison nodded grimly. That's why the hegemony built their trial. They knew their empire was falling, but they also knew that someday the galaxy would need warriors again. They were looking for a species that could inherit their military knowledge and use it to protect others. Collins finished her analysis of the hegemony's data and looked up with concern. Captain, according to these records, the Devourer fleet is massive. Hundreds of ships, each one capable of destroying a planet. The hegemony fought them once and barely survived. And now they're coming back, Torres added, studying the tactical displays. The Outer Rim colonies have been going silent for months. The Council probably thinks it's just communication failures. Dr. Cathara realized the implications. You're saying that humanity might be the galaxy's only hope against this threat. I'm saying that humanity might be the galaxy's only military hope, Morrison corrected. But we didn't come here to conquer anyone. We came here to help. The distinction was important, and the aliens were beginning to understand it. The humans weren't interested in ruling the galaxy, but they were willing to defend it. There was a difference between warriors and conquerors, though most peaceful species had never encountered it. What are you proposing? Cathara asked. Morrison looked at his team before answering. An alliance. Earth provides military protection and training for any species that wants it. In return, we get access to your technology and resources. Everyone benefits. You would teach us to fight? Dr. Yif asked, his compound eyes reflecting multiple images of the human captain. We would teach those who want to learn, Morrison replied. But more importantly, we would fight for those who can't or won't fight for themselves. Kane finished reassembling her weapon. The galaxy's got a protection problem. We can be the solution. Torres was studying the star charts. The Devourer fleet is about 6 months out from the nearest Council world. That's not much time to prepare. Collins looked up from her translation work. Captain, I'm getting reports from the Valkyrie. Long-range sensors are detecting multiple fleet movements in the Outer Rim. Something big is heading toward the galactic core. The aliens felt a chill that had nothing to do with the ship's temperature. Everything they had believed about the galaxy was changing. The universe was not the peaceful place they had thought it was, and their civilization was not as safe as they had assumed. We need to return to Council space immediately, Cathara decided. The leadership must be warned about this threat. Morrison nodded. We'll escort you back to your home world. But first, we need to contact Earth and update them on the situation. The communication to Earth took several minutes to establish, given the distance involved. When the connection was finally made, General Hayes appeared on the screen, her expression serious. Captain, your mission was supposed to be a simple rescue operation. How did it turn into first contact with a galactic civilization? Morrison gave a brief report on what they had discovered, including the hegemony's legacy and the approaching devourer threat. The general listened without interruption, her face growing more concerned with each revelation. "You're telling me that Earth is now the galaxy's primary military power?" Hayes asked. "I'm telling you that Earth might be the galaxy's only military power," Morrison replied. "These people are peaceful, General. They don't have armies or weapons. They can't defend themselves against what's coming." Hayes was quiet for a long moment. "What are you recommending, Captain?" "Full military alliance with the Galactic Cooperation Council. We provide protection, they provide technology and resources. It's the only way everyone survives. And if they refuse..." Morrison looked at the alien scientists around him. "Then they die, and we're next." The general nodded slowly. "Understood. Continue your mission, Captain. Earth will begin mobilizing our fleet." The communication ended, leaving the bridge in silence. The humans and aliens looked at each other with new understanding. They were no longer just rescuers and survivors. They were allies in a war that hadn't started yet. Dr. Cathara moved her tentacles in what Collins had learned was a gesture of respect. "Captain Morrison, I think our species have much to learn from each other." Morrison smiled, and for the first time it didn't look predatory. "Doctor, I think you're right." The combined fleet of human and alien ships turned toward the galactic core, carrying news that would change the balance of power in the universe. Behind them, the dead world held its secrets, but ahead of them lay a galaxy that was about to discover it had new protectors. The massive space station orbiting Zalithia Prime was the largest structure Captain Morrison had ever seen. The Galactic Cooperation Council headquarters stretched 4 kilometers in all directions, its organic curves and flowing lines completely unlike human architecture. Ships from dozens of species docked at various ports, their designs as varied as the beings who built them. "It's beautiful," Private Collins said from the Valkyrie's observation deck. "I never imagined alien architecture could be so artistic." Morrison stood beside her, watching the alien ships move in perfect formation around the station. "It's also completely defenseless. No weapons, no shields, no military installations. They really did build a civilization based on trust." Dr. Cathara joined them at the viewport, her tentacles moving in what Morrison had learned was a gesture of nervous anticipation. "The Council is gathering an emergency session. Representatives from over 300 worlds are coming to hear what we have learned." The journey to Zalithia Prime had taken 2 weeks, and during that time the humans and aliens had grown to understand each other better. The aliens were fascinated by human history, particularly the concept of defensive warfare. The humans were amazed by the aliens' technology and their ability to cooperate across species boundaries. "The Council leadership is very nervous about meeting humans," Cathara continued. "They've never encountered a species like yours before." Torres checked his rifle one more time. "They've never encountered a species that could actually protect them before." Kane was studying the station's structure through her scanner. "Lisa, look at this. The entire station is built from materials that would be perfect for armor plating, but they're using it for decoration." "Different priorities," Morrison said. "They've had peace for so long, they forgot that it needs to be defended." The docking process was smooth, with alien traffic controllers guiding the human ship to a berth near the diplomatic quarter. A delegation of council representatives waited for them, their various forms creating a rainbow of colors and shapes in the docking bay. Premier Yothel was the council's current leader, a tall being with silver skin and eyes like liquid mercury. He moved with the slow grace of someone who had never known violence, and his voice carried the authority of centuries of peaceful leadership. "Welcome to Zalithia Prime, humans of Earth," he said through the translation device. "Dr. K has told us remarkable things about your species and the discoveries you have made." Morrison stepped forward, his military bearing obvious even in the alien environment. "Premier, we're honored to meet you, but we need to discuss the threat facing your civilization." The council chamber was enormous, with representatives from Hundreds of worlds gathered in a vast amphitheater. The humans stood at the center, their small group dwarfed by the thousands of alien beings surrounding them. Morrison began his presentation with the facts: the hegemony's trial, the approaching Devourer fleet, and the military reality of the situation. He showed them the tactical data, the weapon specifications, and the star charts that proved the threat was real. The Devourers will reach the Outer Rim colonies in 4 months, he concluded. Your current defenses consist of patrol ships with no weapons and security forces with no military training. You cannot stop them. The chamber erupted in discussion as the aliens debated among themselves. Some species had never heard of the Devourers, others thought they were mythical, and all of them were struggling to understand the concept of unstoppable violence. Surely there must be a diplomatic solution, suggested Representative Crinnell, a being that looked like a walking flower. All conflicts can be resolved through negotiation. Torres looked at Morrison, who nodded slightly. Representative, the Devourers don't negotiate. They consume. They've destroyed entire star systems, leaving nothing behind. There's no reasoning with them. Then what do you propose? Asked Premier Yotho. A military alliance, Morrison said. Earth provides protection and training for any species that wants it. We'll teach your people to defend themselves, and we'll fight alongside you when the Devourers arrive. The debate that followed lasted for hours. Some species were interested in the alliance, others were horrified by the idea of learning warfare, and many were simply confused by the concept of defensive violence. Dr. Cathera took the floor during a break in the discussion. I have worked with these humans for weeks now. They are not conquerors. They came to our aid when we needed help, and they shared their discoveries with us, instead of keeping them secret. They are warriors, yes, but they are honorable warriors. Collins activated the translation software and began explaining human military philosophy. We don't fight because we enjoy violence. We fight because we want to protect the things we care about. Peace is only possible when good people are willing to defend it. Kane stood up next, her explosives expert training evident in her precise movements. We can teach your people to build weapons, but more importantly, we can teach them when and how to use them. The goal is not to become warriors, but to be prepared for when warriors are needed. The turning point came when Representative V from the Outer Rim colonies spoke up. 3 of our worlds have gone silent in the past month. We thought it was equipment failure, but now we know the truth. The Devourers are already here. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. The threat was not theoretical anymore. It was immediate and real. Premier Yothel made the decision that would change galactic history. The Galactic Cooperation Council accepts Earth's offer of alliance. We will establish a joint military command and begin preparing our defenses immediately. The next few hours were a blur of activity as the details were worked out. Earth would provide military advisors to any world that requested them, establish training facilities for alien species who wanted to learn defensive warfare, and coordinate the overall defense against the Devourer threat. Morrison found himself appointed as the first human liaison to the Council, with his team serving as the initial military advisory unit. It was a responsibility he had never expected, but one he accepted without hesitation. Collins was assigned to work with the Council's communication specialists, developing better translation protocols and establishing contact with other human ships that were being dispatched from Earth. Kane would oversee the construction of defensive fortifications, while Torres would train alien marksmen and reconnaissance specialists. This is just the beginning, Morrison told his team as they prepared for their new roles. Earth is sending a full fleet, and we're going to need every ship we can get. The first test of the new alliance came sooner than expected. On range, sensors detected a Devourer scout ship approaching the Outer Rim, moving toward an agricultural world with no defenses. Morrison stood on the bridge of the newly commissioned Earth Council joint vessel Unity, watching as human and alien crew members worked together to coordinate the defense. The ship itself was a hybrid design, combining human weapons technology with alien propulsion systems. "All ships, this is Captain Morrison," he said into the communication system. "We're about to face our first real test. Remember, we're not just defending one world, we're defending the principle that peaceful civilizations have the right to exist." The battle was brief, but decisive. The Devourer scout ship was powerful, but it was designed to fight against defenseless targets. When faced with coordinated military resistance, it was quickly overwhelmed and destroyed.